Hello and welcome into Bad for Baseball, everybody. The baddest baseball podcast on the internet, presented to you by Betway. I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog, joined alongside by Adam Peddle. We are going to be talking today about a recent signing, Jack Flaherty, going over to the Detroit Tigers. Pretty good deal for both sides. Pete Alonso, Alex Bregman, their market is heating up. I know we've said that before, but it does feel like with that clock ticking down, things are going to start happening very, very soon. The Padres doing some weird moves. Let's chat a little bit about them. And then their counterpart, the LA Dodgers, being, what's the word?
Petty.
Petty might be the word. Yeah, LA Dodgers, it's lonely at the top. And they're there just doing their thing. So we're going to chat about all of that and more in this one. Before we do, guys, make sure to hit that like, smash that subscribe, and let us know one hot take for the upcoming baseball season. Very, very soon, we're going to be getting into some team previews, some divisional previews, everything like that, folks. So we want to hear some of your hot takes. Maybe we'll bring them up if they pertain to, certain teams when we dive in. Before we get to Jack Flaherty and his recent deal, Adam, what's up?
I'm chilling, man. Over the weekend, I watched a lot of golf. I got the golf itch crazy. Dude, I've had back-to-back dreams of hitting my wedges onto the green and really focusing on keeping that face closed and all that kind of stuff and following through, not lifting. It's crazy. It's actually insane what addiction does to you when you're dreaming, right? But other than that, I'm also dreaming about baseball, because those two things kind of go hand in hand. When golf season's back, baseball season is back. True. Right? Mid-April is when we'll be kind of getting into the season of baseball, and that's when hopefully the courses start opening up here in Canada. So I'm hoping that we can get into some of these breakdowns very soon. I'm hoping that the whole Alonso and Bregman situation just kind of settles, because we're waiting on those guys, And
in recent years, right? Last year specifically, and now it is happening once again this year. You're getting these holdouts, right? And it is these guys that are good and are should command lots of money, but also are having their question marks, right? And it was the same shit last year with Bellinger and Snell and Montgomery, right? Good, you want them on your baseball team, but you don't want them on your baseball team for $100-odd million. And similarly speaking, it is with Pete Alonso and with Alex Bregman. Jack Flaherty was kind of lumped into that grouping of good players that you want, but has his question marks.
Right.
And he got a deal that I think kind of reflected all of it. I think and this is how it's a good deal, because my instinctual reaction was, that's a great deal for the Tigers.
Right.
And then you said, that's a great deal for Flaherty. Yeah. Right? So you're kind of getting both sides of the coin, because I look at this and I'm like, fuck, this is a steal for the Tigers.
Right.
But you're right. There could also be some upside there for Flaherty. So this deal, I think it's a great job by both sides, honestly.
Yeah. So the details of the deal, if you haven't heard already, is a 2-year contract, and it's a $35 million guarantee, right? And also includes an opt-out after the first season. But however, if Flaherty pitches more than 15 innings that second year...
15 starts.
Or 15... 15 innings would be easy. 15 starts. If he pitches more than 15 starts in 2025, that second year opt-out instantly increases to $20 million. So if the Tigers take it, then it could be instantly a $45 million contract in 2 years. And Flaherty, dude's only 29 years old right now, so he could opt out at 30, or he could finish his contract, at 31 years old. And that's a prime time for a pitcher to go get another 4-year, 5-year deal. We've seen pitchers do that recently in the recent years. Get another bigger deal over $100 million. So you can get a lot of money right now, because that was always the question marks, right? Was, can this guy stay healthy? Can he be good on the field? He does 1 year of good. Well, let's see 2 more years, and then you can get a good bag.
Sorry, just to clarify, how much is he getting paid this year?
$25 million.
$25 million. And the opt-out is for him or for the team?
I believe it is a team opt-out. It includes an opt-out after the first season. I thought I had his thing right up here. Let me take a look at his contract according to Baseball Savant.
Okay, yeah, I'm just interested then, because if he did put together, if it's a player opt out, then I love that even that much more for him, because if he does put together that nice year with the Tigers, in this coming year 2025,
right.
Well, okay, I mean, now I'm
right now.
I'm gonna opt out right now. That is that 2 years of back to back. I am a good pitcher, and then boom, I can hit free agency again.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not really seeing whether it's an opt-out. It just says with an opt-out. And there's no whether it's his opt-out or a player opt-out. I'm looking at Ken Rosedale right now. There's no, doesn't really say. We'll see, I guess. Maybe we're waiting to be determined on what kind of opt-out that is.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, I would love it if that is for him, for his sake, but obviously if you're the team, you love that too, because I guess that doesn't make sense to me then is, like, if it's $25 million in the first year, then would that mean that as of right now, he'd only be getting paid $10 million next year?
In 2026?
Yeah.
I mean, if now I don't know if, like, the contract is where if they don't pick it up, they still have to pay the $10 million. That's what I don't know. That's what I'm not sure. Like, the details really haven't come out, but because it's 35 guaranteed, so I'm assuming that if they don't pick it up, then it's going to be a $10 million anyways. So then they're like, oh well, if he sucks, then and he doesn't get 15 stars, so we might as well pick it up anyways, I guess. Do you know what I mean?
Right, yeah. Exactly, because, $10 million for Jack Flaherty next year, like, let's just say he got injured or something, but he was still playing well, and then they did pick it up, well, then in that case, I would hate that for Jack Flaherty. Yeah. Because I'm like, well, what the fuck? $10 million? Like, that's crazy.
Well, I wonder if he does. Well, maybe it's a little bit of protection because if he does get hurt, then it's like, well, who's going to offer me anything now? Because now I'm back to my injury history, Jack Flaherty, but if the team picks it up, then it's like, okay, well, then maybe it'd be better if it's a player option, because then he could pick it up and be like, well, let me prove myself.
Oh, I know. It's again, right? Like, it makes more sense to me if it is a player option, just from everything that we've seen so far. But who knows?
Feels like a player option.
Feels like it should be a player option right there, everybody. I guess those details haven't come out yet, but when they do, like, stay tuned. We'll talk about that maybe in the next podcast. But looking at that Detroit Tigers, team as a whole right now, it looks nice. They walked into last season with Jack Flaherty. They ended up trading him away, and then they ended up going to the playoffs, and they even knocked off the Houston Astros in the process of being there, right? So now they got him back, and they kind of have this newfound, like, I don't know, life to them. Yeah. As well as him, they also have Gleyber Torres coming in here. Of course, you can't think about the Detroit Tigers without talking about Tariq Skubal. Yeah. Like, you look at this squad, and it's not something that, I don't know, is, going to blow you away or anything, but it's one of those ones that's good enough, I think. And, like, if you walk into a series with Detroit, like, I don't think that you can immediately go, all right, there's 2 of 3, or or what have you, right? Like, this is a squad that could easily win a series against almost any team, I think.
There's a lot of hope here because of the pitching staff is really good. We were breaking it down last week. The bullpen is, like, shockingly very good. Like, there's only 2 guys with over a 3 ERA in that bullpen, and those are their closers. And we'll decide who they go with this year. It's Jason Foley and Bo Bursecki. Everyone else has under a 3 other than, like, Kenta Maeda. So we all know who he's just a long man in that bullpen. But then, that rotation looking like Tariq Skubal, the Cy Young Award winner, number 1 in the league, and then Jack Flaherty, number 10 according to Fangraphs. Then you got Reese Olson, that pitched for a mid-3. Alex Cobb was injured, but we know he can pitch for a good mid-3. And then Casey Mize is kind of your 5th, and Casey Mize hasn't really developed into the guy that we were kind of all hoping to be. But still, I mean, that's a good enough rotation and a good enough bullpen to get you through.
Yeah, you look at I got Reese Olson's page up right now, and I mean, 25 years old. 2 years in the bigs, both of them over 100 innings, both of them in those mid-3 ERAs. Like, you're looking at somebody that, now is 25. He was 24 last year. I mean, like, can we take that next step? Yeah. And, like, if this guy takes that next step, right, at age 25, which is totally within the realm of possibilities right here, I mean, okay, like, you got the Cy Young winner. We know that fucking Tariq Skubal is going to ball out. Yeah. You're thinking that Flaherty is going to be, the guy that he was last year. You're hoping anyways, because clearly he found something in Detroit. Maybe that's part of the reason why I wanted to go back there is like, hey, like, this was working, right? Like, I got back to where I knew I could be. And, I think that we can do it again. We can run it back here. Like, like, to me, with a strong bullpen, and, like, with that, like, 1, 2, 3 there, like, you got upside, you got stability, like, just across the board, like, the pitchers are nice. The lineup is, I don't want to say questionable, but kind of questionable. It's a little bit. Right? Like, I'd like to have a couple more names in here that I can really confidently get behind. Honestly, the only player that I'm, like, locked in 100%, I know that you're going to be fucking really good, is Riley Green. I believe and I trust in Riley Green. we need to see some other dudes in here.
Yeah, like, and Riley Green's like he's very solid, but they don't have that like super mega impact like kind of guy. Like I'm talking like the upper echelon of like top 10 player in the league kind of thing. Like they or even more Riley Greens. Like where they need a little bit more depth. They had Kerry Carpenter have a nice little season.
Well, that's the thing.
Year.
Are we sleeping on Kerry Carpenter? Because I'm pulling up his stats right now, and
a little bit.
I'll be honest, like I am a little blown away at the fact because I knew that he was solid last year in the half season he played half a year, like 87 games. But in the season prior at 25 years old, like the guy had 118 games played, 811 OPS.
Yeah.
So again, like not the 900 OPS that he was sporting last year, but
maybe we're sleeping on Kerry Carpenter a little
bit.
What
he's done so far in the league has been upper echelon.
And then obviously we know who Gleyber Torres is, Parker Meadows. We kind of figure out who he is at this point. Cole Keith was an interesting ad. He got cold at the end there. I remember he was hot at one point. Like they need some like another kind of breakout guy because they haven't made a big bat acquisition other than Gleyber Torres. That's not really a big bat, just a filler piece. But they need another big bat kind of breakout guy. Is it going to be Cole Keith? Is it going to be Jace Young? Is it going to be Jake Rogers? Is it going to be Trey Sweeney? Like we need one of those guys kind of step up, add to that top of the lineup, and then it's like, okay, well, with this pitching staff, is this lineup good to provide a little bit of thump in the playoffs? It's definitely, I think, good enough to get you back to the playoffs, especially in the AL Central when you're looking at, obviously the Guardians won last year with 92 wins. They took a little bit of a step back this year. You had 86 wins. Are you taking a step up? Can you take that AL Central? Can you go into the playoffs? Possibly, but the big question is going to be, can they get that thump for the postseason?
Well, I think the exciting part, if you are a Tigers fan right now, is, not necessarily when you look at the OPS category, not necessarily when you look at, I don't know, just, some of the percentages here, but when you go to that age column, and you scroll through that age column, right, you say that we know who Parker Meadows is. I don't know if you can fully lock that in. He's only 25 years old. Right?
Yeah.
He's only 25 years old.
The only reason why I say, because he has limited playing time, the only reason why I say that is because, like, he, like, profiles as just, like, I'm a fast guy. I slap the ball around. That's kind of it.
I get it. I get it.
I go and I field,
and, like, up until this point in his career, limited sample size, mind you, 395 at-bats, so not a ton in his career. That's been who he is. But, again, 25 years old right now, just turned 25, by the way, like a couple months ago. So young dude right there. Gleyber Torres is one of the oldest guys.
Yeah, he's 28.
He's 28, right? Riley Green, like it's like you kind of know who Riley Green is at this point. Like very, very solid player. But have we seen the ceiling of Riley Green?
He's 24.
I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah.
It might be the case there. Kerry Carpenter, right? Still, like, there's a lot of youth here. Colt Keith is 23 for crying out loud, right? Jace Young, 24. Trey Sweeney, again, like, not good yet, but the guy is only 24 in his own right. So, like, there's a lot of players in here that you're looking at. It's like, okay, like, can we get one of or two of? Not even like, do we need a big breakout, or could we have like a couple mini breakouts from some of these guys?
Give me another Riley Green. Give me another 800 OPS, another 130 OPS plus. Like, give me that. I know it's a lot to ask from these guys, but it's still like, can we get that? And then it's looking good.
Here's the thing, like, even if it's and that's one way to do it, sure. But could, like, let's just say, like, what if Trey Sweeney and Colt Keith and Parker, if we all just decide if those guys took a mini, we're all 750 OPS guys now.
Oh yeah, that's
okay. Well, then it's like, all right, like, yeah, we don't necessarily have that superstar, but it's like, okay, everybody's here, like, contributing.
You know what that reminds me of? The Tampa Bay Rays.
A little
they were
bit.
good, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone had, like, they had a couple guys in the 800s, and they had everybody else, like,
everyone else was
mid-700s.
like, you know what? You can never, you can't ever fall asleep in an inning against Tampa Bay.
There could be a time.
Because, for one, their pitching, and that's kind of how this team is built, right? Their pitching staff, in Tampa Bay's case, was, like, stacked top to bottom, even though they were dealing with guys that you never fucking heard of. Like, these guys have people that you've heard of, but pitching staff, that was always their strength. And then it was like, okay, we have a nice 1-2-3, and I do think that they're 1-2-3 here, especially with Kerry Carpenter, like, assuming he kind of moves up the lineup, everything like that. I like their 1-2-3. It's not one of the top ones in the league, but it's okay, especially if Riley Green, continues what he did last year. But then, it's like you need to have, like, other players, no holes. And last year there was holes. You look at some of the stat lines of Sweeney, of Jace Young, of some of these other. There was holes.
Mm-hmm.
Can we make it so there are fewer holes in this lineup?
Hey, when they traded and they rocked with these guys, they got to the playoffs and went on a massive run.
Exactly. Right?
So it worked in some capacity, right?
I do wonder what their actually I'm going to pull that up right now, right? Because this was their team last year.
Mm-hmm.
What were the second half stats?
Yeah,
like?
look at the second.
What
half
were
stats.
what were the second half stats?
While you bring that up, I was wondering when I was looking at this lineup, I was like, where the fuck is Javier Baez?
Oh, right.
Yeah, and I looked too. He's not even
about him completely.
Dude, he's not even on their injured list in this fan graph, so I was looking at it.
No, he's just not playing.
He's working his way back from a surgery. He might be back in 2025, but the consensus is like he's not going to get everyday at bats. He might be a bench guy, or they might just outright cut him and just eat his contract. Because if I'm these guys, Trey Sweeney, their new shortstop, I don't care. Like, this guy's young and hungry, wants to play. Javier Baez is washed as all holy hell.
Yeah, I mean, like, ultimately, everybody is aware at this point that any playing time Javier Baez sees is just simply to try to
try to
get any value out of the $20-odd million that you're paying him a year, which is fucking insane, right?
Yeah, I know.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that guy makes, I don't know, a quick math here.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like 100, way more than 100 times what I make a year.
Yeah.
Like, so much more times than I make a year.
Yeah.
And he does nothing.
Bro,
he does literally nothing.
Bro, it's so funny. Obviously, he's not going to take this, but he had a player opt out last year. And obviously, he's not going to take it because he's owed about $100 more million.
Yes,
So he's got 3 more years, and then they finally get off that contract.
Wild career from Javier Baez. I mean, like, you're just... If you're a Detroit Tigers fan, you gotta hate that guy.
Take that L.
You gotta.
Yeah. Oh, I hate that guy. Robbed my
That's
organization.
The thing. Like, it's one thing to be bad, and like, as viewers know, we are Toronto Blue Jays fans here. I look at George Springer, and I see similarities in the sense that, like, Springer's bad now. He's not good, and he is well overpaid for what it is. And you look at that contract as a whole, unless he has like 2 Renaissance seasons, it is a kind of an L contract. All things considered. However, I don't hate George Springer because at the very least, I see George Springer giving 100% effort.
Yeah,
even though he can't do it anymore. He can't do it the way that he used to. Javier Baez does not give a flying fuck and has not given a flying fuck in years. And for that reason alone, that is why I would hate him.
If I'm an LA Angel fan too, I'd hate Anthony Rendon.
Oh yeah,
like remember the whole comments about him being like, "Oh, this is just
a job to me. It doesn't really matter."
Yeah,
like, no, I'm sorry.
And like, look, that might be your opinion. That might be the way you feel about it. But like,
you got to hold that shit to yourself.
Yeah, you can't be saying that because now everyone's gonna resent you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
Like, bro, it's a job to you, and you're not even showing up to work.
Exactly.
It's like, come on.
Yeah,
man.
you know what I mean. Listen, if this was just a job for you, I mean, like at a normal job, you get fired for the amount of effort that you're putting in.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this guy's calling in.
But we can't fire you because you got too much guaranteed money.
This guy's taking exactly. Like, this guy's taking too many sick days. He's just taking advantage of the workplace.
Yes.
They're too nice to him.
So listen, I feel for you, Detroit fans. Like, I'm never gonna hate. I'm gonna be disappointed in a guy if he's not playing well and he gets paid too much. But I'm only ever gonna hate somebody when the effort's not there, and that is 100% the case with Javier Baez, and that's why he's riding the bench. I got the stats up here, and I think that this is actually, immediately when I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a problem. But I think this is actually more exciting if you're Detroit fans. They're hitting in the second half of last year, and that was when they were really, really good, was 23rd in the league in OPS.
Wow.
So
it's got to be their pitching, right?
Well, their pitching was number 1.
Yeah, there you go.
Their pitching was number 1 in baseball. And when you look at their pitching, just, from adding stuff in and subtracting, well, they actually added getting back Jack Flaherty, right? And they haven't really lost that much.
And they added Alex Cobb.
That's right? So, their pitching, that was number 1 in the second half, hasn't really lost a whole lot there. And they're hitting, and this is when they were making that crazy run, their hitting was pretty fucking bad, actually.
Yeah.
You know, so can you be better? The question is now,
Can you?
and again, like you're asking a lot for your pitching to be number one in baseball.
Yeah.
So let's assume that you're not number one on the season. Let's assume that you're certainly a top 10 team in pitching.
10. Yeah.
Can your hitting be average?
Yeah. I do think it makes a big difference if they're like the bottom of the top 10 in pitching versus a mid versus an average.
I agree.
Because like that actually reminds me of the Toronto Blue Jays, but a little bit better, last year, and they lost a lot of games because of that. Other than their bowl, actually not last year. I'm thinking 2023, which they actually still made playoffs and was still pretty decent. So like it's possible, right? It's possible they could do it.
On the season last year, Detroit was fourth. And in terms of pitching ERA, and you are, honestly, like that's what you're asking for again. You're asking for your and if you are top 5, then what you need from your offense is to not be 23rd.
And who are the other top 5 guys in there?
In terms of pitching on the season, you had the Atlanta Braves, believe it or not, number 1.
Oh, yeah.
You had the tied with the Seattle Mariners in terms of ERA. I mean, Seattle's still going to be up there again.
Yeah.
Atlanta could be. It's just like I'm finding it hard to believe that Sale is going to do that again.
And they don't have Max Fried.
They don't have Max Fried.
Yeah. They will get Strider back, hopefully. That'll be.
But midway through the year, and then you're kind of wondering, well, what level will he perform at? Again, I wouldn't be shocked to see them fall off. Seattle's still going to be there, though. They might even be better than 3.5 ERA. Cleveland was up there, too, and you got to imagine Cleveland will still be there. They were number 3. They were tied with Detroit in terms of ERA, so you could argue that Detroit was tied for 3rd.
Yeah.
And then the 5th team, I bet, can you guess them? They're always there.
Oh, the Rays?
Not the Rays.
Wow. Who is it?
Always there, Milwaukee Brewers.
Oh,
number 5.
Yeah.
So that was the top 5 in terms of pitching ERA. And you know what? When you think about pitching wins championships, 4 out of those 5 teams made it to the playoffs, and 1 of them had like the worst offense in baseball, and I'm talking about Seattle. So,
and I think that's kind of my point here, I guess, with the Tigers is, look, like, that offense has got to do a little bit of damage. You can get to the playoffs with great pitching, but you got to have a great offense to win the playoffs.
To play against, because that's the thing. You're going to run into these teams.
These great pitching teams.
And the difference between you and Atlanta is that Atlanta's got a better offense than you do. I know that even some of their guys took a step back last year, but they were still better than Detroit. And similarly, like some of these other squads too, like Houston Astros was ranked 6th in the ERA. Well, they got a better offense than you, or at least they did last year. Can you do that now, or take that next step if you are Detroit? I like their team. I'm excited for them. They're going to be one of my like exciting watch-alongs, and I think that they're kind of like everybody's. It's like everyone's like, I don't want to say dark horse, but like everyone's second team right now. Like if Detroit goes far and does shit, I'm gonna be like, great work.
It's always a team that sucks for a decade, and then out of nowhere, it's like, oh, there's life again in this city.
Yeah,
it was like the Baltimore Orioles for a while. Now that magic's kind of fading away.
Yeah,
who's the new? It was the Toronto Blue Jays for a while. Then that magic faded away. Now it's your turn, Detroit.
It's Detroit, and it's like, look, I like what you guys have done here. Yeah. I'm excited for you. I think that this is a foundation. This is a start. And you know what? If you win a decent amount, like you guys can make a play for your division. And if you're like winning at the trade deadline, I would love to see you go out and then address whatever need it may be at that point. I'm assuming it might be a big time slugger, but we'll see when that time comes.
We'll see when it happens, guys. So that's kind of our thoughts on the Detroit Tigers. You let us know in the comments down below. What do you think about the Tigers and that move with Jack Flaherty? Now, like I said off the top, there's still some more guys that need to be moved to a certain team, and that is Pete Alonso and Alex Bregman.
Wouldn't that be nice for Detroit if they could lock down Bregman?
That would be nice.
Because they were in those talks for a while. Like that, if you do
that would change a lot
I look at that lineup and I'm like,
much differently.
Shit.
Yeah, like what would that, like you'd put Alex Bregman right dead center, like number 2.
You might put Bregman leadoff, actually. Right? It's like
with the on base.
Yeah, exactly. Like you got Meadows there right now, Parker Meadows, but I mean, like if you could go Bregman, Torres, Green, Carpenter, then Meadows. I don't know. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
But again, it would make it a lot thicker for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So, but then again, some people are saying like maybe Alex Bregman, maybe the move with Jack Flaherty takes him out of Alex Bregman because Tigers like they don't really have a history of spending in the last decade. We'll see. That would be a game changer. Like that's what it always is, man. Like even with the Baltimore Orioles, same conversation. It's like you had the great development, make a big signing. You know what I mean? That would be a big signing. Maybe their big signing was Javier Baez, and that failed.
Failed miserably.
But
and
we'll see.
I will give them. Like a little bit of a free pass here in saying that I could see comparisons between Bregman and Baez. Not much though.
Not much.
Because again,
there was a lot more.
There was a lot more
signs.
red flags with Baez. Like there was so much to like, but there was also a lot to be concerned about. And I think that Bregman's got a lot more stability than Baez.
Yeah, he actually plays the game well.
He plays the baseball game pretty good. But again, I understand why you might be skeptical if you're Detroit.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, so speaking about the Bregman situation, we got an article right here from Bob Nightingale. He was talking about Bregman and Pete Alonso and basically saying that they could end up with their former team soon. Can you believe that? After all this time, they just go back to their former teams.
I can believe it, actually.
I do, right? I mean, the whole thing with Alex Bregman, the whole point of him is that, no one's offering him that $200 million contract, but the Astros offer still kind of stands when they offered back in November a 6-year, $156 million deal. That offer's still on the table. They just left it, and they said, all right, you take it or leave it. He obviously left it. Then they went out and traded for Paredes, and they got Christian Walker, filled out their corner infield there. And then all of a sudden now they're kind of Bregman's kind of circling back, Scott Boras kind of circling back, being like, okay, well, let's renegotiate these talks. So it feels like he inevitably will probably sign there. There's still the Toronto Blue Jays in on the mix. They have a 6-year deal reportedly on the table, but unless it beats the 156, it feels like Bregman's just gonna go right back.
Yeah. That's annoying.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right?
My analysis on that is that is really damn annoying because, we've been talking about you for forever. And if you just end up signing the deal that, you had the whole time, that's going to kind of piss me off a bit, You would better at least get another $15 million out of all this nonsense, if you put us through this.
And Bob says this in the article, who's going to blink first, because if he does come back, then it's okay, if he wants to come back and then negotiate a little bit more, well, the Astros might just go, no.
Right.
We already got a replacement. We got Isaac Paredes.
That's true. That is true.
So you either take it or leave it.
Yeah. So, ultimately, if I'm Alex Bregman right now, I don't know, man. I get that you love Houston, and I understand why you'd want to stay there. But there are some other squads out there that look exciting. And I wouldn't even be that upset about Detroit. Granted,
right.
From a geographical standpoint,
yeah,
Detroit.
It's Detroit. But I guess the one thing is he can go play for AJ Hinch again.
That's true.
That's a huge connection right there. There's a lot of Houston ties in the Detroit Tigers system, and then you would be that dude, but also you'd be a legend in Houston if you. Here's the thing: there's also Jose Altuve, who's kind of showing that legend status. But you could go and start a whole new chapter. But again, he's got to. It makes sense only monetarily if it beats the Astros offer, which I do find Tigers having a hard time I have a hard time believing the Tigers beat the 6-year 156.
156 is honestly not bad. It really isn't. I know that Bregman thought that he was going to be that $200 million guy. That is clearly off the table at this point.
That's crazy. He thought that. I think none of us thought that.
I can understand it. But it is. If you were a year younger, maybe it's just you're 31.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You are. I get it. I do understand why he thought that with the way that baseball contracts are going and everything. And, there are other players out there that you can pinpoint and be like, hey, that guy gets paid way more than me. Look at Anthony Rendon.
Yeah,
why did that guy get paid, almost $300 million?
That was so terrible.
It's ultimately Bregman is significantly better defensively speaking than Anthony Rendon, especially at the time that he signed the contract. That was the case. I know that Rendon was coming off of a pretty phenomenal year.
He was I think the last 3 years leading up, he was kind of getting slowly better. But
he was around the same age as Brad. Look, I get why he would have thought that, and I also think too, it's one of those. It's kind of one of those fallacies where. If you get offered the one, because you got offered that 156, way before free agency,
or I think it was in November.
But I think that they offered him that contract or a similar contract to that, way prior,
right.
You're
right.
When they were talking about the extension, they were thinking about extending Bregman, they offered that to him, and it's one of those fallacies where it's well, you get offered that, and you're thinking, Well, they must be pulling a fast one on me. You know what I mean? It's like, well, clearly, if they're willing to offer this now,
right?
Well, once we get the bidding war going, and then that just it never really developed. It never happened.
Yeah, because I think in reality, and I mean, not trying to put Bregman down, like I think like that's kind of what you're worth if you think about for 6 years, right? What's that work out to be? About $26 million per year?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, that's. I mean, and again, like they have to consider in the fact that you are 31, you'll be 37 at the end of that. Like $26 million at 27 is a pretty good deal for you, you know, because there will be a decline at that point. So like that's pretty good. So to get to 200 million, you either got to increase the years, which would be like 39, which would just be a ripoff at that point, or you increase the AAV. So if you went 6 years, 200 million, that's $33 million per year, which is a bit too much, I'd say, for Alex Bregman.
I also get it, too, from Bregman's standpoint, where it's like, okay, one, they were offering you that deal before. You're thinking we go to free agency. Like, that's the floor.
That's the floor.
You know? Yeah. And then, too, I mean, think about Bogarts. Bogarts is getting paid till 42, right?
That's just insane,
so
man.
I get it. I do understand it. But clearly it didn't work out the way that he wanted it to. I keep looking at some of these recent free agents, and I'm making comparisons to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I do just wonder if, hey, like that 400 that the Jays are offering right now, you're thinking that's the floor. Maybe it's not. Maybe that's actually, what's going to be like the ceiling right now, just because of the defense, because of the position you play, because of all that shit. Different scenario, I know. But, we're seeing this enough now to I guess to factor in an element of risk where you never know how some of these negotiations are going to progress in free agency. Just food for thought there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like with Vladdy's case, again, he does have the H factor. And then if he puts up another year like he did last year, because last year it's 6.2 WAR, which is like, I think it's 2 higher than Alex Bregman. So if he does that again and you're 4 years younger than him, it's like, yeah, sure. I could see how the money and the AAV could definitely get up there. But like, yeah, like is Vladdy how much more money worth per year than Alex Bregman? What, like $5 to $10 million more?
You know what I mean? It's like, because let's face it, right? Bregman signs for $160. Let's say he signs 6 years, $160. He's getting paid $26.5 million or whatever that is, right? Well, Guerrero, he's pretty good. Puts up on average 2 more WAR than Vladdy, or Bregman, excuse me. That's what you're projecting. Is he worth $450-500 million?
I just did a quick thing right there. Let's say he gets paid $9 million more per year than Alex Bregman at $35 million per year in this situation where Bregman's getting 26. Times that by 12, which would take him to age 39. I think 39. That's $420 million. If he does again.
Yeah, exactly. That's
pretty. I think that's pretty close.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, again, like we'll see how it all tracks and everything like that. But I mean, there's just so much risk involved in these contracts. Bregman is seeing the I guess the negative factor of that right now, and it is looking like he's just gonna go back to the Houston Astros, which does make sense, but is annoying nonetheless. Pete Alonso is another one that's going through the exact same thing right now. Older first baseman, not great defensively speaking, can annihilate the baseball though, but he's not even getting a 6-year deal. He's looking at $70 million, which frankly I think is fucking blasphemous. Like the fact that the Mets even offered him a $70 million deal, that to me is... like that's almost that's rude, that's rude. I think.
Yeah, I mean it is, and we've talked about this before. Where he's is he 31? He's 31, right?
He's 30, dude.
30, yeah, like a 30-year-old first baseman. Like, dude, like you could get this guy for at least 4, 5, 6 years.
He just turned 30 too.
He just turned 30. He's been one of the better productive power hitters in all of baseball, but for whatever reason, Steve Cohen is drawing a line in the sand and saying, hey, like we've been spending a lot of money. We're not willing to invest in your asset, Pete Alonso, even though he's been one of the more clutch hitters for the Mets in the last 5 years, right? Yeah. So right now the word on the street is that like Bob Nightingale saying, well, he's probably going to be a New York Met because he obviously really wants to be a New York Met. I think we already knew this for quite some time. And the only really suitor out there for Pete Alonso is the Toronto Blue Jays, which we've also talked about. And his argument here is that, like, well, he's going to sign with the Mets because if he really wanted to sign with Toronto, he would have done it already because he's already gotten, like, a better offer. So why wouldn't he already sign already?
I mean, listen, I get that, and I do think that there is some validity to that. However, it works in both sides, right? Like, look, he probably, ultimately what this comes down to is we know that he wants to be a New York Met, right? That's his number one choice. We've known that for a while at this point. He could go to Toronto, but the price that he's willing to go to Toronto for is higher than the price he's willing to go to New York for.
Absolutely.
That's just the way of it. And right now, I'm assuming both of those teams have not hit their respective price.
Yeah.
Right? So Toronto's price, even though it's probably higher than what the Mets are offering, still hasn't reached in his mind the price that he'd be willing to move to Canada for. Yeah. So, like, I mean, I get it. I understand what Bob Nightingale's saying, but it works in both ways right now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If Toronto actually did offer up the additional $10 million, then maybe that does push him over. And he's like, okay, well, that was the price that I'd be willing to sign with Toronto for.
Right.
I can do this now.
Right, and he's not getting the price from the Mets,
he's
like
not
you're
getting
saying.
Any from either team.
And yeah, like literally, like if he really wanted to return the Mets, he would have signed already and taken whatever price it is, right?
And if the Mets really were ready to budge, wouldn't they have done it at this point?
Wouldn't they done it already?
So it's look, it's all of this, right? It's a waiting game, and he, again, it comes down to what Pete Alonso is willing to sacrifice. You walked into free agency hoping that you wouldn't have to sacrifice anything.
Right.
You are going to have to make a sacrifice.
Yeah,
is it going to be what team you're playing on, geographically where you are living? Is it a monetary sacrifice? Is it a year sacrifice? Are you sacrificing an opt-out? You're going to have to sacrifice something right here to get what it is that you want. And for somebody like Pete Alonso, I mean, pull out the fucking old-fashioned pros and cons list, dude. You know what I mean? Like, list out your priorities. Let it be known what it is that you're looking for, and then inevitably, come to your senses and decide that Toronto is the best place for you.
Yeah,
we want you here.
Yeah, that's right. Pick Toronto. Now, if you are to make an educated guess, where does Pete Alonso go?
Honestly, man, I don't know. I genuinely don't know at this point. Like, I guess the New York Mets, just because that's what everybody's saying.
Yeah.
And it feels too good to be true to be the Toronto Blue Jays.
Right.
But at this point, like being where we are right now, I would not be surprised in the slightest if, somebody comes out of the woodwork. I know the Angels have been, rumored before. I mean, we're going to talk about it afterwards. The Padres are apparently looking to get bats now.
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
I don't know. That seems weird, but, we've seen weirder shit. I mean, I'm not a big basketball guy, but apparently the wildest trade ever
that was
happened.
Insane. Oh, my God. Luka Doncic.
I don't know much about basketball, but I've seen the comparisons for other sports. Just a fucking insane trade that transpired there. Weird shit happens sometimes.
I know.
With a situation like this, I wouldn't be shocked at all if some weird stuff goes down.
Right. I mean, wow, that used to remind me of that. Like, I know enough of basketball to know that, like, that's like a generational superstar for a guy who was a generational superstar who's now old.
So I've been seeing a lot of, so again, I saw some MLB comparisons actually this morning.
Yeah.
And like they were, again, I don't know this to be true, but the comments were like, this tracks, and there were a couple. So like one of them was Ronald Acuna Jr. for Mike Trout.
Yeah.
And then another one was Juan Soto for Bryce Harper. And then another one was who was it? It was Paul Skeens for Garrett Cole. And effectively it's just like, okay, you're giving up a young guy who is really fucking elite for an old guy who is still very elite, but is the
clock's ticking. When's
older,
it gonna run out?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's just weird
stuff here happens in sports. So yeah, let us know what thoughts, guys, about Pete Alonso and Alex Bregman. I would still probably say Mets, just because, like, again, at the end of the day, he wants to play there, so he probably will try to convince himself to go back there. Let's give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this podcast, Betway. Hit your picks, and knock it out of the park with Betway. Scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the details section to join the action. Must be 19 plus. Available in Ontario only. Please bet responsibly. We've got another sport other than basketball. We got the NFL. We've got the Super Bowl. We got the Kansas City Chiefs, and we've got the Philadelphia Eagles. We're back again. Another Chiefs, another Eagles Super Bowl. It was 2 years ago they were in the Super Bowl together, and now they're getting a little rematch. Can the Eagles provide the upset and beat the Chiefs, or can the Chiefs lock down the three-peat the first time in NFL history. The money line right now is obviously favored towards Chiefs, 1.8, and the Eagles got a 2.05. Where are you kind of at right now for the Super Bowl?
Probably Chiefs, man. Probably Chiefs. Listen, I don't want it. Nobody wants it unless you live in Kansas City. It's annoying. I hate every bit of it, right? Because why do we watch this fucking shit if the same stuff happens every year? It's very frustrating. Mm-hmm. I'm so excited for that one season where they just get absolutely curb stomped in the divisional round, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's over," and we're done. We're freed.
For now.
Yeah, for now. That's not happening this year. Apparently, Patrick Mahomes is 15-0 against a team in a domed stadium. Again, take that for what you will. That's probably just a ridiculous cherry-pick stat. The stadium that they're playing in will have a dome on top of it.
Right. Whatever
look,
that means.
Ultimately, the Philadelphia Eagles are a great football team.
Yeah.
Saquon's amazing. And, Hurts is good. And A.J. Brown, you pound for pound across the board, Philly's better on paper. They are. They're the better team on paper. It doesn't matter. Chiefs will win the Super Bowl. So them.
I might just bump it up a little bit and take the spread -1.5 for the Chiefs, which is 187. So. Yeah, I'll just take that.
We need some, honestly, there's got to be a little bit of fuckery. There's got to be some shit that can't be overturned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm talking about
the refs,
clear and obvious Patrick Mahomes interception.
Yes.
You can't overturn this. There's no penalties.
Unless there's, someone comes in and brushes his arm at the end.
Or, some
roughing the passer.
On the complete other side of the field.
Yeah. Or it's a holding where it's just a hand just touches his chest. That's the bullshit thing, right? I want... This is a conspiracy theory. Me, it's I wonder if the refs are looking at okay, that could be potential hold over there.
Yeah,
that could be that. Interception. There it is.
Yeah, we're finding it. You know,
we gotta find it.
That's the thing. And NFL guys will tell you, linemen will say there is holding on every single play.
Yeah,
there's holding on every single play. It's just what gets called, what doesn't get called. You can always find a penalty on the NFL field just because that's what the sport demands. There's always going to be that. Just don't call it is what we're asking for in the Super Bowl.
Be fair,
please, right? So, Chiefs are gonna win. It's gonna be terrible. I'm gonna hate watching it. And that's gonna be that.
Right. So let us know in the comments down below, guys. Who are you picking for the Super Bowl? We got a couple more little nuggets here. You brought up the Padres, and apparently the GM of the Padres are open for business. Not in the trade market. Apparently they want to go and they want to buy some people and add to their team. They're hoping to add multiple bats and pitchers, according to their GM, A.J. Preller. They said they got to add a bat or two, got to add an arm or two. It's February 3rd, Padres, and you haven't added a single bat or arm, and they're basically all gone unless you go add Bregman or Alonso. They're all gone.
Padres are cooked. Padres are cooked.
What a terribly run organization. Now I know there's a lot of things going on with the ownership and the passing of the former GM or former owner, but the point is, it's a little bit too late to be adding here.
Yeah,
guys.
They're cooked, you guys. They're cooked. You can forget about the Padres for a couple of years. Feel free to clip this if they're good next year and at me. But it's not gonna happen, man. There's a cancer right now at the top. It always starts at the top, and you need to have stability right there. There's got to be that. There is not. I mean, the wife of Peter Seidler is suing the brothers about the ownership. They're fighting. The brothers are accusing her of suing at an impromptu time because she sued them when they were in the Roki sweepstakes, which then inevitably caused him to say and come out afterwards saying, I want stability in the front office and go there. Look, it's not good.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what the direction is here. Okay, yeah, they want bats. A week ago, they were looking at trading Cease. There is stuff out there talking about them trading Michael King. Fernando Tatis Jr. trade rumors are out there right now. This is not a team right now that if I'm a free agent or if I'm anybody, I want to go to. Even though when you look at their roster on paper, you go, okay, solid guys across the board. It doesn't matter because the direction is not there.
Yeah, again, I'm looking at their team, that's a playoff team that can go deep into playoffs.
They're gonna ruin it.
But again, where's the mental at? Where's the ownership at do people want to play here? Are people going to be motivated? Because, yeah, even their freaking rotation, you got Cease, King, Darvish. That's a solid number, 1 through 3 right there. They got Robert Suarez and Jason Adam. That's top 15 bullpen arms right there. Obviously, the lineup is incredible. But, we were talking about hot takes earlier. You brought it up to let the comments know, like, hey, asking them, what's your hot take? Hot take is that Padres finish 4th in the division next year for me.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I don't even, like, it is hot, but I don't even know if it's that hot just with everything that we've heard right now.
I can see them trading guys, like, at the deadline.
100%.
Like, if they're, like, not winning their division, which they won't be, or even, like, in a secure wildcard spot, sell. They're going to sell.
Yeah, of course, right? Like, they're cutting payroll. They're letting people walk. They're getting money. They're just getting rid of everything.
Yeah, dude, I saw an article talking about how they wanted to package Bogarts and a prospect to trade away
to get rid
of the contract.
Yeah, exactly. We're like, what, a year into that contract, 2 years into that contract, and you're already willing to, like, get it. You have that guy till 42,
dude,
41.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they're a year into the Michael King and Dylan Cease thing, and they're already wanting to trade those guys. Like,
that's because right now there is conflicting opinions at the top. Nobody knows exactly who's running this. They're fighting over it. Like, the ownership is more concerned about, like, securing ownership than actually dealing with the squad that they have on the field right now. So, no, it's just you cannot have a serviceable franchise when there is that amount of instability at the top.
And I do feel bad for Padre fans because you got really close last year to being the Dodgers, and you thought everything was going right, and then all of a sudden, if my team started collapsing like this, I would be shocked.
No, I wouldn't know what to do. It would really, really suck. And again, like nobody's talking enough about the fact that Ha-Seong Kim, who is a lock for 3 to 4 WAR a year with his defense, maybe even more than that, 5 WAR some years. Tanner Scott, one of the best bullpen arms in baseball that you traded for last year. You gave up assets to get that guy. He just walked in free agency. Profar, all-star for you last year. Phenomenal season. Gone. That's just to name a few. There is multiple other players that you have let walk. There's got to be like 15 WAR that have left the Padres. Seriously. Probably more than that, actually. With all the guys that have walked.
Yeah, like at least double digits for sure. Because there might be some other minor guys that we're not even thinking about, but they haven't had anybody. So I know that there's definitely a WAR going out and coming in. Now, to add insult to injury, Padres fans, the Dodgers, like we brought up earlier, are being a little bit petty. And they have a special 3-day giveaway when you go into LA for the first time. When you go to Dodger Stadium, they got a 3-day giveaway. On the first day of the series, on the Monday, June 16th, against the Padres, the Dodgers are going to be giving away a Blake Snell bobblehead. That's your former pitcher that they got now. Yep, they're going to be giving him away. The next day, guess what? They're going to have a World Series replica trophy giveaway. On the very next day. Usually these things are spread out by weeks. No, the very next day, they're giving it out. And then on the final day of the series, on the Wednesday, they're giving away a gold player jersey giveaway, which is the representation. Every World Series team gets a little gold jersey. All the fans will be wearing it on the final day to watch you guys walk out of there. Just a little bit of, that was definitely planned. Why would they have all the World Series and then a Blake Snell bobblehead on the day the Padres are back?
Yeah, man, I'm starting to hate the Dodgers a bit, Like, look, I know it's not your fault, Dodgers fans. Like, you just are the way that you are, and you are this good. But, like, come on, man.
They're just rubbing it in.
Come on, man.
Rubbing it in.
Like, did we need to do that? Right? Like,
I could get it if it was, like, let's say the... what's an underdog team? Like let's say it's the Giants or whatever, and they beat the Dodgers in the NLCS, go on to win the World Series, and they did it. I'd be more like, haha, yeah. But it's because the Dodgers, like, you have everything right now. You don't need to gloat. You don't need to flex on teams that are obviously going through a tough time right now. Okay, they might be your rivals, absolutely, but haven't they had enough suffering? You know what I'm saying?
There's been quite a lot of suffering right now. I am looking. I'm actually doing the math right now, quickly in my head, to looking up some of the WAR. We're already past double digits right now. I haven't included Tanner Scott. Like, God. Again, like the WAR that's gone out of the San Diego Padres it's insurmountable. It's just insurmountable. You are not with what's happening. I don't see playoffs in the future here.
No. And that's why I think. Well, how much WAR? Well, what were you at? Like 12?
I was at like 10 at that point right there.
All right. Well, that's 10 less wins.
That's the thing.
You
know what I mean? And I didn't. There were still other guys there that I had not included yet.
Yeah.
Like I think that you'd be getting close to 15.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say 15 less wins. That's a 78 win ball team. If you're going, directly
just based off of that, and then the vibes that we got to factor in here, it's not great. I think they're going to be like 500 or a bit below 500.
Yeah. I think honestly, my prediction is like they're going to be an 82 and 81, 82 ball team.
That's and I agree with you, man. Like they're not the squad that they were, just because there's too much shit going against them right now. And of course, when you have the Dodgers doing what they're doing, being petty.
And then honestly, the Diamondbacks too. Like they're a way better team at this point. Like, and then see what the Giants do. Like, can they? Like, that's going to be kind of what I'm looking at. Can the Giants outbeat the Padres? Is that possible? Right. And if that's the case, there's your fourth place team right there.
Well, you guys let us know what you think about all this in the comments down below, guys. Are the Padres cooked? Are the Dodgers being petty? What's happening with Flaherty? What's going on with those Detroit? Let us know your thoughts about all this in the comments down below, guys. Please hit that like, smash that subscribe button. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. We will catch you in the next one.
Cheers.